So today we're doing odd shapes. When I think of odd shapes, I think of the Dream Big panel. Have you guys seen the Dream Big panel? Um,
So
the
gorgeous.
yeah, the double wedding ring comes to mind too. There was a customer that was here last week or the week before. My weeks, as I get older, my weeks are kind of combined together. But anyway, she was here and she was at the front desk and she had a quilt it was a paper pieced quilt and it was of a sewing machine. And it was so cool. I don't remember how long she said to take it. But anyway, the person who designed it also it came with digital designs. And the patterns that she was showing me, I was just flabbergasted how many and how cool that it was going to look. I hope she brings it back in when she's done with it. But that was definitely a bunch of odd shapes, that she was going to be using on that quilt. So with the odd shapes, we're gonna be in Select and Sew. Can everyone see my big cursor? S
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Wanna make sure everyone can see that because it's and also, I am in the simulation mode, and for some of you that are new to this also, get your you can install the software at 3 different devices at the same time. So get those installed on a laptop so you can sit in your comfy chair and play with the software and learn it that way instead of learning it standing in front of the frame. I think it's earlier, but I think it's easier to learn it that way than stand in front of the frame. So I just set my safe area. I just went with the default, what it is in simulation mode. Um, I'm gonna just for right now, I'm gonna choose any pattern. Um, Also, Carla wanted me to show you when you when you're selecting your pattern or when you're going to do a project to go into patterns at the left of our read pattern screen. Here's where all of the different patterns are, and you can add your own in here. So I'm going to go ahead and add. Because I test all the time, I use this all the time. I'm just going to I'm gonna actually go out of that. I'm gonna go into continuous line and I want to add a new folder in here and I'm just going to call it test. And then you can put whatever you want in that folder. And to move files around in our program, if you highlight a file, I can click, I'm on the bottom left of the read pattern. I can click on multiple and choose multiple ones. And then also down on the bottom, we have all. I can select all of them or none of them. And then we have a copy, paste, a cut, and delete. Now, I just created this folder and I cannot delete it. This is a question that comes up often. I'm going to show you in a second how I would delete this folder. But if I wanted to move a pattern into this folder, I could highlight a pattern, as many as I want or as little. And then I'm going to hit copy. I'm going to go into my new created folder and I'm going to hit paste. And then there's my pattern in that folder. Um, if you have a thumb drive, you can click on new drive and select that and bring patterns over too. Now I want to get rid of this test folder because say I don't want it anymore. So I'm gonna go into File Explorer for Windows, and then I'm gonna go to this PC, and it's gonna show my C drive. So I'm gonna double click on my C drive, and then it's gonna show. Then you're gonna go into Powered by QuiltCAD folder, and then you're gonna go into the Patterns folder, and then I'll go into Continuous Line. And here's my test one I just added. So I'm gonna click on that and then hit delete. And that's how you delete a folder um, once you've added it and you didn't want it in your software anymore. Also, if you notice, these are all of our patterns. There are 2 files for if you're gonna move files around, make it through Explorer, you can also move stuff around this way versus the software. Make sure if you're gonna move a folder or delete one or move it somewhere else, make sure you have both file types. There's two different file types for one file. One is the picture. The second one's the picture, and then this one's the actually the pattern. You can just move that one, but if you move it into your software, you might not have a picture. If you put the file without the picture in one of the folders and then you open the folder, it creates that thumb drive for you. So if you ever do lose the picture file, no big deal. Just put in your program and open it up, and it creates those. And that's how you would do that. So anyway, when you're doing a project, add your folder in here of your project name. I did a double wedding ring and I did a big dream today to show you those. I'm going to start with the double wedding ring. And a lot of quilts will come with the digital patterns too. So I'm going to choose this one. Oh, and let me bring up, hey. There we go. So I'm going to bring up a picture. I just took this off the internet, and I am going to put the pattern I just selected in this part of my quilt. And I'm going to use the marking tool. This is when the marking tool is so awesome because you can outline your odd shape and then it will help you place it in there. So I'm going to go to plugins and go to the marking tool. Now with the marking tool, you just put your machine over your area and then add a mark, add a point here at the bottom. So let's see if I can do this. So I'm going to move my machine there. I'm going to add a point. Now when you're using the marking tool, and even with Eclipse and Fabric Comp, this is the same thing. If you have a curve or a circle, you want to do a lot of little points. If you have a straight line, I'm going to try to go a little faster. I might not have to, I'm not. Then you can do, if you have a lot of points, then you could, see, my brain's freezing. You can get that circle. And if you don't need the circle, then you can do it bigger. You don't have to do so small of ones. I did a dream big and got the pattern, and by time I was done with my dream big, I learned, oh, that was a bad one, but we're going to deal with it. I learned that I could just do certain marks. I didn't have to mark my whole outline, and you'll get a little better at doing this. And sometimes this, may seem slow and tedious, but it's so nice when it works out. And it's so nice when it's right in your seams and it's not going over your seams, and you get it exactly where you want it and the size where you want it. Also in the marking tool, I can add a mark here and give it a name or a number, and then I can do another mark. So you could have multiple marks on your screen. The marking tool does so many different things. I've seen people out there, well, I didn't do too bad there. I've seen so many different people that have used this for so many different reasons. I've pulled a quilt off the frame and put it back on and used it to find out where I need to put my row in for my pantograph. I've seen people use it for marking their sides of their quilt. So as they're rolling, they add marks on the left side, the right side, just to make sure that their quilt is staying straight as they're doing it. All right, so I'm going to get out of the marking tool. Also in the marking tool, this will stay on the screen. I didn't do too bad for kind of blindly doing it. But this will stay on the screen until you get rid of it. So with all of our different placements and all of our different shapes, 2-point probably won't work. A block probably won't work, on point triangle, unless they are really on point and triangle patterns, which an odd shape isn't. And I've even used 4-point placement in a situation like this because the 1-point kind of wasn't working for me. So try your 1-point, your 4-point to see which one works best for you. But I'm gonna use 1-point. And then when I select 1-point at the bottom, we have, where do you want this point to start? You want it to start at the start point or the end? And in this particular pattern, my start and stop is at the same location, or the center or the corner. I use a corner a lot and I use a center a lot. The center is great for odd shapes to get in there because as you look on the bottom of the screen where it says size, if I choose a different placement, so say I'm gonna go to a block placement, it's no longer a size because you're sizing your block with your placement, with your 2 points. So then you can add a margin. But in 1-point, you're adding a size, which is great. So I'm gonna do center, and so I'm gonna move my machine. Yes, I know it's gonna be way too big, and put it over my mark. I'm also gonna rotate it because it's on point. My pattern went outside my safe area, and that's why I got this message. So I'm gonna just try 3.5 for now, which is a little small. And then you also want to place it. You don't have to, again, but you want to make sure. So let's try 4. So it's still not as far out, so I'm going to try 4.5. And that's getting pretty close. So yeah, I don't think I would rotate it anymore. I'd probably try to place it a little better. There we go, to get it in there. So yeah, that's pretty much, you use the marking tool and then 1-point placement or 4-point. When I've had to use 4-point before on an odd shape, I totally went way outside and of my block. And you can do that. You just move your machine and hit your point. I can hit this as many times as I want to get it where I want it. So yeah, this is a nice little tool. Also, if I was to go into my patterns and go into the Dream Big, these are all the patterns that when I purchased them to do my Dream Big quilt, these are all the different shapes. So I was using the marking tool on almost every one just to get them right where I want them on my quilt. Yeah, so that one's a fun one also. Okay, so there's something else that's really cool with the odd shape and using the marking tool. Especially if you're a designer and you can do your own designs or to fill it in. So what I'm going to do, so you have to have a mark. So I have my mark. I'm going to stay with it even though my lines aren't so straight. So I'm going to close my window. I'm going to go into Pattern CAD. And on the left-hand side of Pattern CAD, it says Safe Area. So I'm going to click on the box next to Safe Area. And look, it brought up a red box, which is my safe area on my other screen. So my viewable area. And here's my mark. So I can actually start drawing if I would like to draw in this line. I've seen on the QCT Facebook page, and I so wish I could have reached out and helped this customer. I honestly don't remember the name, but she was trying to do it was like an arch, and her pattern that was just not fitting just right in her marking area. So she was struggling, didn't know what to do. She could have come in here and she could have edited her pattern just by bringing in the nodes inside her marks and accomplish it that way. So that was pretty awesome. But with this, I want to finish showing you the process. I'm just going to draw. I'm just going to do some lines because that's about all I'm good at doing is lines and pattern CAD. I'm not the artist with drawing. I'm going to check a continuous line on this because I just want it to be a line. So I'm going to create my pattern with my, and I'm just going to do some lines back and forth. I know it's not going to be pretty, but you'll get the point. So here's my pattern. Now I can go to Quilt and it's going to ask me to save it. So I'm just going to give it a number 1. I'm just going to save it real quick. And then here it is. It's in my mark. It's ready to quilt. Now I'm going to quilt this out. I don't want to place it because my marking tool is my placing. So I'm going to go ahead and hit quilt, and it's going to warn me that I hadn't placed it, but with this process, you don't. So I'm going to say no. Yes, I want to proceed. And then there's my pattern, and I can sew that out just like that. So I could have also, I said earlier when I seen on that customer, see now how I have nodes on here. I should have showed you that when I was here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Also with the zoom, if you, oh, I'm in draw, sorry. Let me undo. I'm going to go to edit. If you highlight a node and you zoom in, it zooms to that node. So whatever you're zooming, make sure you highlight something, because if you don't, like when I was trying to do it, it just goes off screen. And then you have to find it. And it's not a scroll screen. You have to use the arrows to do it. But yeah, if the one customer that was struggling, she could have come in, highlighted her nodes, and the design just needed to be moved in just ever so slightly. And she could have just moved her nodes ever so slightly wherever she wanted it to make it to work. So yeah, that is, this is a pretty cool part of the program that not everybody knows about. So it's pretty cool. It's fun. I am going to get out of here and go back to here. And these are some of them in the wedding ring quilt. These are some of the other patterns. I happen to just have a couple of these of my own. I'm not sure why. But yeah, I was able to show you that. So it's pretty cool. Okay, so earlier we were talking and we were talking about borders and corners and fabric comp. So I'm going to go over that. I'm going to go off track a little bit of the odd shapes and go into borders and corners real quick. Oh, see how my mark is still there? And the mark will stay there no matter what screen you go into. It's kind of nice that way. So now I'm going to get out of this. All right. There were some questions earlier about when you're doing borders or corners and you flipped your quilt. I'd like to show you the process I do. So I flipped my quilt. So I have my corners that have been sewn, and all I need is the in-between. So I put on my vertical locks, and I'm at the bottom right of my screen. I put on my vertical locks because I want these vertical lines to just go straight because I don't need them. I'm not going to use them. I'm just going to use this. But I feel like I get better precise when I show where my corner is. So I'll move my machine to the corner of my quilt and tap this node, this corresponding node, and then move it in and do this one. And you always want to do the outside lines first and then your inside lines. On the right hand side, your outside lines and then your inside lines. And then I'm just going to do this one real quick. All right, and then I'm going to go to number 2, and we have our margins, and then we have our left edge and our right edge also. This is for, I know these, I wish this was in a better order because I don't know, I guess we didn't have a place for these and they're kind of seems like they're in an odd place. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to move my machine to where this corner stops stitching. And then I'm going to tell the program that's my edge right there. And then I'm going to move the machine to where the pattern started stitching on the right-hand side. I'm just going to say right there and do right edge. So that is the space that the program's going to fill for your in between. And I don't need to put corner in here. I'm just going to go to border. Let's go to border sets. I'm just going to choose this one. And then it puts that in between. This is how you get your pattern to line up or to get it between your corners that has been sewn. So now, since I've done that, I'm gonna do fabric comp. We were also talking about fabric comp, so I want to go through fabric comp because I personally never do borders and corners without fabric comp, because these points from your corners, from your left side to your right side, is just a straight line. The program doesn't know if you've loaded it on your frame, and like I was saying earlier, whenever I flip a quilt and I get it loaded on the frame, if I have it straight, I'm happy. But most of the time I have either a smiley face or a frowny face. Either one. For some reason I go to the frowny side. I don't know why. But that can help me move my patterns in and out so it won't go over any seams. So I'm going to go into plugins. Also with plugins, we have the marking tool. If you're using these plugins with any part of the program, this is the order you want to do them in, because you can't do a pattern eclipse and then go back and do fabric comp. If you want to do a fabric comp, in point adjust, or pattern eclipse, then this is the order you want to do those at. So I'm just going to do fabric comp. When it first comes in, it comes in, sometimes it's hard to see this dark green line. See how this line is darker than these lines? So this is your active line. So that means anytime you add points on this one, you're going to be doing it with this line, your top. So you move your machine and you add a point. Now, where I added a point, see how I added this little circle right here? That means it captured your point there. You cannot go really close to, I'm adding a point, but it's not adding my circle. You have to be at least an inch away from your placement because you've already placed these corners. So why does Fabric Comp want to change that? So the program doesn't let you change your points that you've added in your screen before. So I'm just going to keep moving my machine down. You can go as, you can add a bunch of points. I don't think we have a limit on adding points. So there's and then you want to go next. So my dark green line's over here on the right, and I don't need that because I'm just doing the center right now. And then I'm going to go to right here. Also, when you're doing borders and corners, if you add a margin, use fabric, you want to do everything exactly the same once you flip your quilt to make sure that you do line up it lines up perfectly. So once again, I'm just going to move my machine and add some points. And whatever the top is doing, a very high percentage, the bottom seam is going to be doing the same thing. So if you have a frowny face going on, you'll see it on your screen. So on that. Yeah, and you don't want to do large fabric comps. If you do large distance fabric comps, it's going to distort your pattern. So if you have to do a large one, there might be a different way you might need to fix your quilt on your frame to make it a little easier on that. So
As always with YouTube, we will post this on YouTube for you guys to watch later so you can review. There's lots of previous videos here. We've been going, I think we're almost at a year in November for Quilter's Playground. So there are so many videos to go back and watch and see automation, free motion, all those kinds of things. And of course, we appreciate sharing us, commenting, liking to give us more interaction on YouTube. So thank you guys so much.